Happy Tuesday, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back for another word of encouragement from T Speaks. And this morning we're going to be talking about children. Children are a gift. Children are a gift. And those of you that know me, those of you that have been following me for a while, you know that I work in early childhood education, and I have been working in early childhood education for some time now. I started actually in high school. It was my career pathway in high school. I used to teach Sunday school. Children are just my heart. They're literally my heart. And as I'm just going to put it plainly, as wild as we say they are, as disobedient as we say they are, as loud as we say they are, as annoying as sometimes we say they are, I'm just giving it to you real. Like we say all of these things, not realizing that the things that we say out of our mouths are going from off of us into them. So the things that we speak out of our mouths, we're speaking over them. So we need to understand that children are a gift. We need to understand that we can't just say anything and, number one, expect them to listen. We can't just say anything and expect them to trust us with their lives. We can't just say anything and expect them to say, okay, well, they're saying this, this, and this, so I'm just going to go ahead and listen. That's not how it works. You have to meet them at the level that they are at. And what I mean by that is everyone has to be met at the level that they're at. So I can't go to a 4 or 5-year-old and expect them to sit still all 8 hours of the day. I can't go to a high schooler and expect them to sit in circle time and be comfortable for 15-20 minutes. You have to meet children where they are, at the level that they're at. We are all children. We are all children in some aspect or form. We are all somebody's child, and we are all God's child. So just like somebody met us before we gave our yes, just like somebody met us where we were, at the level that we were at, we have to understand that we have to meet the children at the level that they are at as well. So it's important to understand that and acknowledge that you're going to have different types of behaviors. That's a given. You're going to have different types of personalities. Of course, that's another given. You're going to have different ways that you have to reach out to them. You're going to have different ways that you have to reach them and different levels that you have to reach them at. An autistic child, you're not going to be able to reach them at the level of a child who does not have autism. And I don't say that to say that you have to reach them at a lower level. You just have to reach them at a different level. And again, I'm going to reiterate that it's important that we need to check our language. Not only do we need to check our language, we also need to check our posture. We need to check our posture because children feed off of us. So if they feel that we are negative, if they feel that we are burnt out, then they too are going to continue to do what they're doing because they're feeling that we're burnt out. They're feeling that we have that negative energy. So if we have that negative energy and it's rubbing off on them, how can we expect them to listen? How can we expect them to sit still? How can we expect them to trust us to teach them in any way, shape, or form? This is Sunday school. This is school. This is out in the atmosphere, out in the community, in the atmosphere. No matter where it is, you have to be able to reach a child at the level that they are at. Even in the store, think back to when you were a child and you went into the store. You wanted any and everything that you got your hands on. Even some of us today as adults, we go into the store and we just go gung-ho because everything is in the store that we want. Of course, we're not going to grab everything that we want, but we go gung-ho because we see, if you see that for instance, nails is something that you're into doing nails, you're into doing hair and things like that. You walk into a hair store or cosmetology store, of course you're going to be in heaven. So it's no different than a child walking into a store. or a classroom with a whole bunch of toys, they're going to want to pull something out. They're going to want to grab onto something. They're going to want to play with it. It's grabbing their attention. But we have to meet them at the level that they are at so that they can understand. So today we're going to be talking about children are a gift. Children are a gift. And like I said, we have children in all shapes or forms. Children in all shapes or forms. And we have to, again, be able to reach them. We have to be able to meet them at the level that they are at. We can't expect them to come up to our level and meet us where we are. We have to get down to their level and meet them at the level that they are at. Think of how a daycare or a classroom setup, or kindergarten. Think of how a kindergarten setup is in a classroom. You're not going to have a whole bunch of high chairs because kids can't get into a high chair. But we do have a lower teacher chair. It's a little bit higher than the kids, but we have a teacher chair where we can still get down at their level, but still be comfortable at a little bit of a higher position. I hope you understood that. So, Psalms 127 and 3. Psalms 127 and 3 is speaking about children are a gift. Children are a gift, and they're not a burden. And children can feel when they're being a burden. They can feel the energy that you give off of them. So if they feel that they're being a burden, they're going to be a burden. But if you let them know that they are a gift, if you let them know that you're there to guide them and lead them in the most positive manner possible, then they're going to most likely adhere to what it is that you're saying. They're most likely going to adhere to what it is that you're asking. Of course, we're all moms. Of course, some of us are teachers. Some of us are leaders. So we're going to get burnt out at some point. But the key is you don't let them see you get burnt out. Even a Sunday school teacher can get burnt out at times. Somebody working within the youth department can get burnt out at times. But you have to realize your limits. You have to understand that you as an adult, children can't realize your limits. You can realize your limits. And in you understanding and realizing your limits, you have to know when you need to walk away and take a break. I'll give you an example. I had just recently gone through the CDA courses. And this was a particular day where I was being viewed and by my teacher. And when she came into the classroom, it was already a day where it was like, I felt like everything was just on me. I was being observed and it was just a lot going on. I have 4 and 5-year-olds, by the way. And I felt like I did terrible. Because, I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything out of the norm that I would usually do. But I felt like I did terrible because the kids were so rambunctious that day. They just had high energy. They had a very high level of energy this particular day. And I felt like I did something so wrong. And instead of me taking that moment to breathe, or instead of me taking that moment to ask for a break, I broke down. Now, luckily, the director was right there with me, so she gave me that break. But had I realized my limits, I should have asked for a break before it got to that point. So sometimes we don't understand our limits. Sometimes we don't recognize our limits. And that is where the children get the best of us. And they don't get the best of us in the best way. They get the best of us in a way where they understand that they can take us to that limit. When we show them that they're in control, they're going to be in control and they're going to get the best of us. But instead, if we understand and we recognize our limits, then we should be giving them the best of us at all times, not allowing them to get the best of us. And what I mean by that is when they understand that they're in control, when they understand that you are stressing, when they understand that you are in a negative headspace, they get the best of you. And by the best of you, I mean they understand that in that moment, they can do whatever they do. to get you. They do whatever they do to get you. And they do whatever they can possibly do to get a reaction or a rise out of you. Instead of getting to that point, understanding your limits means that you understand when you need to take a break. Understanding your limits means that you understand when you need to stop and rest. Understanding your limits means that you understand that you give the children the best of you in a positive manner so that they don't get the best of you in a negative manner. So children are a gift and they're not a burden. So we need to watch what we say out of our mouths because they're listening. When you say you're bad, and I'm talking to myself as well, so trust and believe, I hear me when I hear him speaking to me. Trust and believe, I hear him speaking to me when I sometimes get to that point, not necessarily at work, but even with my own children and when they were younger. Even now, I have to take a step back and say, I apologize, I didn't mean to say that. Apologizing to your children is not letting them walk over top of you. Apologizing to your children is showing them that you have the respect for them while also being a parent to them. It's not you being a friend to them. It's not you showing them that they can walk over top of you. It's you showing them that you understand. It's you showing them and teaching them that, yes, I'm going to make mistakes and it's okay to make mistakes. As a parent, I'm showing you that it's okay to make mistakes. And when you make those mistakes, you need to own those mistakes. So apologizing to your children or whatever children may be in your presence is not a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing at all. Matthew 19:14, Jesus said, children are a light of the world. I'm sorry, that was the wrong scripture. Let the little children come to me. Matthew 19:14, let the little children come to me. Let the little children come to me. So when we think that they are seeing things, when we think that they are just saying things, when we think that they're just acting out, maybe that is a moment that they need to get up and they need to seek the presence of God. Maybe that's a moment where they're trying to get your attention so that you can understand that, hey, mommy, come on, I need to pray right now. Or, hey, Miss T, come on, I need to take a break right now. Maybe that's what they're trying to get you to understand. Instead of us thinking that they're just moving around and shifting around or they're just acting out just to be seen, they don't have all of the words, all the vocabulary that we have to be able to say, I need to take a break right now. They don't know how to say that. So we as the leader, we as the older person, we as the teacher, whatever capacity it is that you are leading these children in, we need to understand that they don't necessarily know all the time how to say that they need to take a break. They don't understand all the time how to say or know when to say, hey, I need to get up and go pray right now. They don't understand. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the vocabulary. Well, let me back up. They have the knowledge, but they don't understand how to put two and two together to say, it's time to pray. Or, I need to hear a scripture. I need you to pour something positive into me. So instead of feeding that negative energy, feed it with positivity and watch how the atmosphere changes. Feed it with positivity and watch how the atmosphere changes. Like I said, the scripture says, little children, come to me. Let the little children come to me. I apologize. Let the little children come to me. So when they get up in church, not get up to run around, but when they get up to want to clap their hands, don't tell them to sit down. When they get up in the classroom and they want to express themselves, let them express themselves. We need to understand that we need to learn how to shift when things happen. We need to learn how to shift and we need to learn how to transition. You don't always have to follow a schedule. You don't always have to follow a program. We need to learn how to shift and transition when the Spirit tells us to shift and transition. We need to understand that we need to meet them at the level that they are. And in order to meet them at the level that they're at, again, we need to understand when it's time to shift and when it's time to transition. Again, you don't always have to follow the schedule. Let me use my classroom for an example. I don't always follow the schedule that's in my classroom. My kids know when it's time to do circle time, and they know when it's time to go to the carpet. They know when it's time to get the circle time chairs. They know when it's time to sit crisscross, and they know when it's time to go to the table. But one thing that I can say is when I see that one of them are jumping up and down, or when I see that one of them maybe has a higher energy level, I'm not going to pinpoint that one child out. I'm going to take the class as a whole and say, okay, let's transition. Let's do music. Let's do a game. I'm going to get something from that one child that's going to grab the whole class's attention, not drawing attention to that one child, because that's how they feel pinpointed. And when they feel pinpointed, they feel like, well, I'm just going to act out anyway. So sometimes you have to walk away from them. Sometimes you have to transition. Sometimes you have to let them be. But in all of that, we need to learn how to transition. We need to learn how to shift. We need to learn how to maneuver, not letting them take charge, but letting them understand that we understand where they're coming from. We also need to understand that children can be used. Children can be used. Samuel and Jeremiah are examples of how they were used. Samuel heard the voice of God. Jeremiah was used by God at a young age, both at a young age. And neither were old enough, or let me put it this way. In today's world, we would assume that neither are old enough to understand what it is that God was calling them to do. But they did understand what he was calling them to do. When God calls somebody, when he calls a child, when he calls somebody to lead, when he calls somebody to work in the kingdom for him, he's not looking at age as a qualification. He's not looking at a track record as a qualification. He's looking at the heart posture as a qualification. He's looking at what he has already equipped you with as a qualification. So we need to understand that when children say that they see things, or when they say that they hear things, or even when they say, hey, mommy, come on, it's time to pray, yield to that. Yield to that. In the classroom setting. Not all classrooms may have a prayer area. But in my classroom, I do have a calm down area. And it's a neutral area for where someone can go calm down if they need to pray, if they need to play with a fidget toy, if they need to do whatever it is that they need to do at that moment to calm down. It's a neutral area where I can say, okay, you can pray, you can do this, you can do that. Of course, everybody in a public setting is not going to understand praying. So instead of me saying, this is your pray corner or this is your pray area, it's your calm down area so that you can do what it is that you need to do in that moment and then come back and join the class. It's you recognizing your own limits as a child, and it's me allowing you to recognize your limits as a teacher and as an adult. And last but not least, we also need to understand that children have a voice. Children have a voice. So instead of us going to them, or instead of when they come to us, they say, I don't know, mommy, mommy, mommy. I know that used to get on my nerves. Mom, 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 all the time. Just tap, 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 tap. Or, for instance, me in the classroom. I do not like necessarily when children go like this all the time. I try to get them to use their words. And in using their words, it's helping them to use their language. It's helping them to understand that they have words to use. And it's also helping them to understand not everybody likes touch. So if you use your words instead of tap and nag, then you're using your vocabulary to express what it is. You're using your words to express what it is that you need to say. And in that, we are understanding again that children have a voice. And in children having a voice, we need to teach them to use their voice, teach them to use their words. We need to teach them that it's okay if you don't necessarily know the right word at all times. It's okay if you don't necessarily understand the wording at that point in time. It's okay to say, I need help. It's okay to say, please stop hitting me. Please stop being mean to me. You need to use your voice in order to work things out. In the classroom, in the church, at home, wherever it is that you may be, you need to understand that using your voice is what starts the problem solving. Using your voice is what kickstarts problem solving. So I hope that something that I said today has prompted you. I hope something that I have said today has prompted you to understand and acknowledge that children are unique. Children are a gift. Children are a blessing. They are not a burden. Allow your children, in whatever capacity it is that you are using your children, or in whatever capacity it is that you are in working with children, allow your children to use their voice. Allow your children to understand that it's okay to shift. It's okay to transition. It's okay to be used by God. It's okay not to fit in. You weren't made to fit in. You are a gift and you are unique for a reason. So I hope and pray that something that I have said today, like I said, has prompted you to understand and acknowledge the importance of children in our community, the importance of children in our church, the importance of children in school, the importance of children in our lives alone. For journal prompt, or to leave in the comment section, what is something that you have learned that is important about children, or important from letting children use their voice? What is something that I have said that has clicked to you today to say, I'm going to try that? Or what is something that I have said today that has clicked to you to say, maybe I'm going to stop saying this or that? Let me know in the comment section. I love you, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday.